This week, Trent Reedy joins us. He is a soldier turned author of the new book, Words in the Dust. Mr. Reedy, welcome to the Minnesota Military Radio Hour.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Trent, I understand that you were a guardsman in the Iowa National Guard and joined the Minnesota National Guard and served a tour of duty in Afghanistan.
Yes, I was a combat engineer that was attached to an infantry company from Minnesota, I think out of Albert Lea, Minnesota, and our mission was to support the reconstruction effort to provide security for civil affairs soldiers operating in Farah province in Afghanistan.
Can you tell us a little bit about your tour of duty in Afghanistan and how that inspired you to think about writing a book?
My tour in Afghanistan completely changed my life. I was inspired to write Words in the Dust. Our unit was on a mission to a small village to assess that village for potential reconstruction needs, to see if we could help them improve their roads, improve their schools, whatever we could do for them. When we were on this mission, we found a young girl who had suffered from birth from cleft lip, and my fellow soldiers and I knew we had to do something to help this girl, so we pooled our money together to pay for the transportation to send this girl to our main base where this Army doctor had volunteered to conduct the corrective surgery. When she came back to us, she was totally transformed, and her smile was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. So she sort of became a symbol of the struggle that all Afghans face in trying to make a better life for themselves and for their country. And so the last time I saw this girl as she was leaving our base, I promised I would tell her story, and that's what led to Words in the Dust.
I read the introduction that was on the website to that book, and it sounds like she was teased and mistreated badly before the surgery.
Her deformity was pretty striking. It was hard to ignore, and I imagine this caused her all kinds of problems, both socially and in terms of difficulties eating and speaking. And so I was really happy that we were able to help her.
How many people were involved out of your unit, and how long did it take you to get to know her before you started trying to find a doctor to do the surgery?
We didn't know her that well. It would be difficult. There's a certain separation between soldiers and Afghans, but also especially between just men and Afghan women. So we didn't know her too well, but I would say our hearts went out to her. So, I don't know, probably guys from 2 or 3 squads put up money to help her out and to give her toys and all kinds of things.
We're speaking with Trent Reedy, a soldier turned author, on the Minnesota Military Radio Hour here on News Talk 100.3 FM. Trent, how have your views of Afghanistan and the Afghan people changed from before you went to the time when you came back?
My views on Afghanistan have completely changed. When I first went to Afghanistan, I didn't know much about the country, and I had a lot of ideas that I'm not very proud of. I was very angry about the September 11th attacks, and I was very afraid when I went to Afghanistan. And so I made the unfortunate mistake of sort of lumping all Afghans in together and blaming them for the situation. But I very quickly met wonderful, kind Afghan people. They were very welcoming when we would come to their villages, and it really changed my mind. And I realized that these, if anything, the Afghan people are more of a victim of Al Qaeda and the Taliban than I will ever be.
Do you think things are changing there?
Absolutely. Just in 2004 and 2005, which is getting to be a long time ago, things improved immensely. We opened schools, cellular telephones went online, the Internet is up in Afghanistan. It's not perfect, but it cannot be denied, I think, objectively, that the situation in Afghanistan is much better than it was in 2001 when we first arrived. And that's something I wanted to bring out in Words in the Dust. I wanted to show Americans that there's more than just war in Afghanistan. I mean, there are people with real lives who love their families, who want the same things that you and I want, just the chance to shape our lives the way we need to meet our destinies and our potential.
I think we've been there a long time, and a lot of people are looking for any positive news they can find, and apparently you think we're doing a good job.
The soldiers in Afghanistan are giving that country a chance, and hardworking Afghans are making things better. And you know, when you see those little kids, you know, and they just want a chance, and it goes right to your heart. It went to my heart, and that is why I've been writing Words in the Dust.
Trent, can you tell us what happened when you came home from Afghanistan?
Sure. When I returned home from Afghanistan, I couldn't get my mind off of the country and the things that I had seen, and I couldn't forget the promise I had made to this girl we had helped. And so I began to start to write Words in the Dust, but despite having lived in the country for a year and interacted so closely with the people there, but despite having lived in an Afghan house when my squad first arrived in Farah province, there was lots I didn't know, and so I had to conduct a lot of research. I spent a lot of time in the library at the University of Iowa and other libraries, and did a lot of interviews with Afghan Americans and some of my friends in Afghanistan. And one of the things I was fascinating to discover was that Afghanistan has this great literary tradition. They have these fantastic ancient poets and this wonderful poetry. And I knew that had to be included in the book because I just think that's a side of Afghanistan that not enough people are aware of. And so I'm happy to bring that to my readers in the book.
So your promise was to tell the story of the little girl with a cleft lip?
Sure. I promised I would get her story out, but I didn't know much about her. I only knew that there was a girl with a cleft lip who had this surgery. So everything else in the book I had to sort of invent from my own imagination and from experiences, sort of to fill in the gaps.
So what types of challenges did you face in starting to write this book? Now I understand that you were an English teacher. Is this your first book that you've tried to write?
This is my first novel.
So how tough was that, and what kind of challenges did you face?
I had a lot to learn about how to write and how novels are constructed, but also it was one of the challenges was just that some of the material in the book was just a challenge to write about. There's a scene in the book where a girl is burned really badly, which unfortunately is based on one of the missions that I was on in Farah province, one of the most horrible nights in my life. So it was tough to get through some of these scenes. It's a really, when you're in the Guard and you're on a mission like this, it becomes your life. It becomes something that gets inside you, that's very personal to you. And so it was a challenge to work through some of these emotions to write the material.
So some of these things that you wrote out in the book really are directly related to your tour in Afghanistan.
Inspired by it, yes, absolutely.
How long did it take you to write the book?
Oh, from the beginning of the draft to publication, probably about 5 years. And there was a lot of rejections from editors and agents, but, I'm sure you can understand, in the military, we keep promises. It's not open to negotiation. They just have to happen. If you make a promise, it has to be kept. It's important. And so one thing that sort of kept me going through all these revisions and through rejections and setbacks was this promise that I had made. It had to be kept, no matter what the cost, no matter how long it took. And so that was sort of an asset, sort of a strength to me in the long run.